we were on LFI and RFI. So you can see RFI stands for remote file inclusion and LFI stands for local file inclusion are vulnerabilities that are often found in the core written web application part. And what is the cause or what is the attack of this vulnerability? You can see the vulnerability occurs when an application allows the user to submit input into files and upload files on the server side. So it could be any of the things which can be input parameter and upload parameter on the server side. So sometimes the queries are basically directed from the server side. So if you check over here, LFI vulnerabilities allow an attacker to read and something execute files on the victim machine. This can be very dangerous because if the web browser is misconfigured and running with high privileges, and the attacker may gain access to the sensitive information. If the attacker is able to place codes on the server through the means, then they can be able to execute arbitrary commands also. The PHP command, you can see the malicious commands. And if you talk about the RFI vulnerabilities are easier to exploit but less common. Instead of accessing the file, the local file machine, the attacker will be able to execute host on their own machines. So through the RFI, we can execute any of the commands. If the first thing is to find the LFI. If you find the LFI, we can go to the RFI, which is your remote server host. So we can execute any of the domain name on the parameter side. So over here, they have given the proper example of the DVWA, but we're going to check the port swagger also. Port swagger are basically the most common thing that can be used because over here, it could be a file type. You can see over here. And this LFI is also known as path traversal vulnerabilities. Path traversal vulnerabilities also to bypass or simply get the sensitive information on the server side. So path traversal arise when application user control data to access on the application server and another backend file system is unset. By submitting crafted input, an attacker will be able to cause arbitrary contents to read from or written to anywhere on the file system. So if you check over here, it's going to use any of the file upload server, like your architecture.php is over there. So the request has been captured in the proxy intercept. Right click and you can see the request content, which is your send to repeater, and you can see the file name, which is your architecture.php. File name is your include part. I said include and upload files. So over here, how an attacker simply use those things. Here you can input payloads in the input field and a web application and monitor the response code. So through the file upload, you can see initially we can check whether our input is reused to file path or ignored. To perform this test, we can compare the response from the server by injecting //. // is basically used to jump the file. Compare this one. If I want to get to the server side, for example, if I want to get to the etc directory, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it //. First one is basically to jump a folder, and the last one, this one is basically to grab the root access. You can see I can write // the first step to jump a directory, and the last one is to get the root access of the file. So through the //, what we are doing, we basically jumping the directories on the server side to get the files which is important for us. For example, you can see in the offsec. In order to demonstrate this technique, we will be using the demo enable. The credentials are going to be admin password. Once we are authenticated with the DVWA security, left panel, go to the low and click submit. You can see over here the file instructions. And the most important thing is the code. See over here. On the file inclusion page, click on the view source code, and on the bottom right, if you see the security testing successfully, let's say load, you should see the following code. See, file type, which is your get page. A get page, which is an include page. This piece of code itself is not actually vulnerable. So where is the vulnerability? For regular attackers who do not already get the root access of the machine, it could be weathered to the investigation end. The get variables is interesting. Why? The get variables is getting the files from the server side. Enough that when we go in testing or scanning for the Lfi inclusion. Since we already have the root access of the machines, let's try harder. You can see they have given a proper one. But the most important part is to get the root access of the character files. So what an attacker do? The most important part is the include function, include file function. There we have it. We find the location of the vulnerability. This code is vulnerable because there is no sanitization of the user supply. Because if you are including a file, you should give a proper file type. Which type of file is it? Especially the file variables is not being sanitized for being called the file include function. If the web server has access to the requested file and any PHP code contained inside the executed, a non-PHP code in the file will display the user information. You can see over here, local file inclusion, just like your directory traversal attack. The .forward character is used, for example, above is represent the directory traversal. The number of dot sequence depend on the configuration and location of the target web server on the victim machine. You can see we can simply we can see that the content of etc password are displayed on the screen. A lot of useful information about the most can be obtained this way. Some of the interesting files you can look for includes like Linux system, etc issue. Let's try with the first one. There's a page which is include.php file. So what I'm going to do, if page is a part which is simply saying that there's a file on the server side, you can see php file 1. See, I need a password to 8 characters long so I can know. These are the some files on the server side. Welcome back, admin. Your IP address is this. Your Mozilla address is this. You came from this and this. So these are the files from the server side. But what attackers do, they transferably get some sensitive information. For example, .// to jump the directories on the server side, like your etc password. So let's try some more. No, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's try some more. And over here we can see this is a proper your etc password which contains the username credentials on the server side. And this is the major cause. If the user supplied is not properly sanitized from the server side, an attacker can enumerate some case sensitive information. For example, you can say etc issue. etc issue will give you some environment variables, username and password. See, for example, you can write proc version, processor version, some sensitive informations. Linux version 4.5, you can see GCC version, Ubuntu. This you can get a proper version of the server. etc profile. If an attacker simply finds some vulnerabilities regarding to Lfi, he can simply enumerate more services. etc profile, you can see it's a bash server, bash environment. etc passwords, you can see over here. etc shadow file also. If you can get the shadow file, it contains the username and password hash. No, we are not able to get those things. Sometimes we get the root history. No, where log this message is. Log files. All you have to do is to give a proper file path. var mail.root. Root directory files. There are lots of things that we can look for. For example, these files can be look into the Windows Linux server, and we have some Windows also. See, a remote file inclusion is also important. When you find RFI on the server side with the file path traversal, an attacker simply extract some other things. This part of demonstration requires some initial setup. We can take some opportunity for developing some Linux commands and PHP skills. In order to run RFI be successful, two functions in a PHP configuration file needed to be set. For example, allow URL open and allow URL include. These files should be over there, so we can execute any URL parameter values on the server side. The both are in on from the PHP documentation part. So what are these things? First of all, allow URL open. These are some PHP files. This option enables the URL aware of open wrappers that enables accessing the URL object like files. Default wrapper are provided for the access of the remote files and using the FTP and HTTP protocols. The allow URL includes these options allow the users to URL aware about the wrapper of using the function called include once, include required. These are some PHP files that can be used for execution part, and you can see the which contains the DVWA functionality in the etc php5 cgi.bin file on the operating system. And if you load the files, you can simply get the animation part of PHP info. So what an attacker do? An attacker tries to manipulate or look for the vulnerable files. For example, if there is a path that can execute, so an attacker simply execute it from HTTP and any of the URL, like HTTPS. I'm going to use craw.in. Let's see if it's executing or not. There should be allow URL be open over there to execute this command. And I can see the page has been loaded on my server, which is 192.168.0.16, which is craw.in. And why this happened? Because of the server side. So there are many more attacks can be performed over here, one by one. But in the last, you can see that it is basically running on my specific server. An attacker simply manipulate lots of other things. He can implement a PHP shell on the server. There are many ways an attacker can be used for this one. If you find the vulnerabilities on the server side, you can look for those. For example, let me show you Lfi HackerOne reports. Let's see, yes. $300 for remote file inclusion. So, due to improper parameter sanitization, local file inclusion is possible. Lfi is limited as we're not able to truncate the end of the string. So you can see application root is located where www dashboard view public. Due to URL manipulation, we are able to read the file. We should be not be allowed over here. Below we present functions index. You can see over here parameters that can be used over here, and they have given a proper POC. They are saying that we are able to see the files, which was lat.government dashboard readme.md5. Impact, you can see they have given the impact also, and they are basically showing us that there's a new parameter was over there. So there are many other ways that we can use for manipulation of the data, but the RFI is to execute the malicious code. So you can see it was $2,000 in April 30. So they didn't provide anything over there disclosed. This was a private invitation. And there are many other things that can be happened over here one by one. So file inclusion vulnerability is most common over there. So RFI, Lfi are the most common things which can be used for finding the loopholes on the server side, but there are many other ways that we can also use it for. For example, the most common attack is your file upload vulnerability. File upload vulnerability are mostly used in various types. because through a file upload vulnerability, an attacker simply get arbitrary command. For example, this application is asking for me upload to an image file. So let's upload a file. Okay, let's download a file from the server side. So let's try Craw. Okay. So let's take any other picture. Let's take this. We can see save this file on the downloads. Yes. Okay. Now let's upload the file from the downloads. So the file has been uploaded. But the most important thing, we can see the sensitive directory where an application can be executed or uploaded. You can see the full path where the file has been downloaded. You can see // hackable. There is a folder called hackable in the uploads directory and the file path. So what an attacker tries to manipulate or simply put some malicious codes on the server side. For example, a PHP code. So you can download a PHP code from pentest monkey reverse shell. So over here, I'm gonna download a PHP shell on my local server. So you can see there's a website over here given. This is a tool designed for the situation during a pen test where you can upload access to the web server that running PHP. Upload the script to somewhere in the web root, then run it by accessing the appropriate URL in the browser. Means you should know the file path or the path of the directory. So you can download over here, and you can see some videos if you don't know. Let's try to see this one on the YouTube channel. So it's going to show you how to upload a PHP shell. So it's running a Netcat on the listening port, L for listening, P for specific port, and verbose. So over here, he downloaded the PHP shell. He uploaded a PHP shell on the server side. And here we got a reverse connection. So it's all about a reverse shell. When we have to upload the shell from the server side, it should give us a loopback. So what we're gonna do over here, we're gonna try to download or upload this file, but think about the concept, but it should upload an image file only, which is your JPG. So what we can try to upload other sensitive things. For example, let's go to the root, let's go to the documents. There's a tool directory. Over here, I download the PHP shell. And over here, you can see my malware over there, but I'm going to change this one. First, we need to try to penetrate those things. So I'm going to change this one. So when you open this one, you can see the PHP code is written over there and the IP address. You have to change the IP address and the listening port because we should give a written address. So my IP address was 110. Let's cross verify. So over here, I can see 110. So I put 110 as my IP address. So when it call on the server side, it will give me a reverse shell. And the port number, which is over here, is 4448. So let's try to upload to shell.php file on the server side, but let's see if it upload or not. Yes, here the file has been uploaded. Why? If you check the source code, okay, wait. Let's try to run the file again. 106. Okay. Hmm. Still, I'm not able to. Okay, let's reset this one. Now we can see. So over here, you can see the source code, which is your PHP code over there, and they have given only the upload function, but they are and the storage where to store the root file, and that was hackable upload directory. And over here, the baseline was files uploaded, and can we move the file to the upload folder? You can see the target path, and your image was uploaded and successfully uploaded. Yes. So the major cause of the source code is they didn't give a proper sanitization. Compare all the levels. This was for impossible file. This was for high, and over here this one was for medium. So over here you can see we are going to be written hackable upload file, but over here they have given information of the files, name, type, and size, and they have given the uploaded type is would be your image and JPG. The uploaded type will be your image and PNG, and the size should be around this. So they have given a proper validation now. And in the low file, you can see they didn't give any proper authority or the permissions on the server side. So there is a many other ways that we can use it for bypassing the parameter values. For example, let's try with the low one. The file has been uploaded successfully. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy the URL over here, and I'm going to paste it over here. And the most important part, to copy the URL of the file part, because the file should be executed in a proper way. So what I'm going to do, so over here I'm going to use my Netcat Listener. Netcat is basically used for communicating with the client and the server side, and you can see -h. That what we're gonna use. I'm going to use the -n, which is your numeric values, numeric IP address only. -l for your listening mode, -v for your verbose, and -p for your specific port to listening. So I'm going to use Netcat numeric listening verbose port on the port number that I have mentioned on my reverse shell was 4448. So we have activated our listener to communicate back with the receiver. So netstat ANTUP. So over here on my back end, I can see the 448 is running over there. So what we can do, we can try to manipulate further things. All we have to do is to give a proper path of the file on the server side, where is it exactly executed, and we can run this file. When the file is running on my terminal, I can see a proper shell on my server. You can see UID is www. You can write who am I, the current user is www, where am I, pwd on the root directory, and I can run some command execution part of it. An attacker can try lots of other further things to gain access. For example, cd home directory contains all the usernames, which is Yagitia and Hacker. See. So over here, you can try further things that can be used. You can simply go to the websites like, okay, let's do bin bash -i. Yes, we get a proper terminal. So cd hackable, I have to write that one. ls-all, and over here we have the permission. Why? Because when I did the ls-l, I can execute any command on the directory, or we have the permission also, execution permissions. So I have permissions to read these files like your sudo HTML successful file profile, some bash files. I don't have the permission to read the bash files. So let's see, cat permission is denied because we don't have the permission to read. So there are various ways an attacker simply gain access and simply look for the server side. For example, the bad directory, which contains all the variables of the server side. cd www, let's see, ls cd html ls, and we can see some files over there. And these all files are from Hackable, and these are test folders. Many things can be grabbed from this site. So the main objective of this one, how an attacker simply gains sensitive information on the server side. We can see we can execute our we can simply run command execution on the server. So the main objective of this machine is to how an attacker simply manipulate or simply look for the vulnerabilities and file upload vulnerabilities. Uname -a, cat etc asterisk release. The distribution version is Ubuntu and it was 18.4. So the most objective thing, we can try to write, if you gain access on the server side, okay, export term external parent variables. You can write netstat, and I can try to get lots of sensitive information. What are the applications that are running there? But the most important part is to simply identify the services and examine all the things one by one. And the most common thing is to understand how the web application in the real life scenarios works. Same just like your attack point. This was a file upload vulnerability. You can simply visit any of the HackerOne report also. File upload HackerOne report 2020 March, April. See, they have given a proper summary of that file, how we can upload an exe file on the server side, exe file which is a disaster one. They have given the steps that we can follow, the impact, and the PNG file. Postman.exe. There are some other text steps we can use. Stripo.email file. They are also using to upload the files. They are given JPG files. Design file JPEG. You can see PSD, PCE. These are the extensions can be uploaded on the server side. You can try one by one all the things. $500 for that. In January 10, 2020. They have given the proper steps that you can follow over there to upload a file. And I guess this is a response code. Yes, this is a response code from the server side. And your image user, which is uploading a file, that exe file. There are various techniques that you can use for uploading files on the server. But the most common thing is to understand how does it look like. If you simply upload, if you simply change the medium, now there is a validation that it could only upload an image file. So what an attacker can do, let's try to upload this one. It's not a JPG file. So I'm going to use the Netcat again. I'm going to execute the same command, but over here they are not allowing us to upload the file. They're saying we can only upload JPG and PNG files. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the mid extension of the file. There's a different techniques. We can change the extensions. Shell.jpg. Let's try upload to this. The file has been uploaded successfully. But over here, what we're going to do, we're going to try to intercept the packet and we're going to try to upload the file again. But over here, I'm going to modify the packet also. So over here, you can see the file type is given over here, which is your JPEG. What you can do, you can simply change the file path and you can see the source code over here. Proper source code is given. So what we can do, we can try PHP over here, or we can simply, instead of this one JPG, we can send this request to the repeater to change the response code. So over here, let's see. Yes, the file will be uploaded successfully. The file has been uploaded successfully. So what I can do, if I do PHP, then what? Let's see. The file has been uploaded over there. Successfully. See. You can change the medium from the server side, but in the server side, because in the middle of the way, you can change the path. So show responsive browser, copy the request, paste it over here. See, the file has been uploaded successfully over there. So as an attacker, what I can do, I can simply copy the URL and the file path. And over here, I can gain the access again. This technique is also known as extension, double extension. You can use double extension over here. You can simply use Burp Suite for uploading the file to check the restriction on the server side, and lots of other things. But the most common thing is to understand how the web application works in the real life. There are many other techniques that can be used for bypassing the techniques server side. And there are many other ways. File upload vulnerability is the most common. You can see all the medium reports. You can try file upload. You can try file upload vulnerability. Medium reports. Medium.com is one of the best websites for learning new things because they're gonna show you how to upload the file. Hi guys, right up. I'm Udhyan and a security researcher. This is representing my research on unrestricted file upload vulnerability. What is unrestricted file upload? What can be uploaded with this? What types of filters and filter bypass techniques, exploitations? They're gonna show you all the things one by one in the medium.com. So you can see types of filters, blacklisting bypass. You can see PHTML, PHP3, PHP4, PHP5, INSC, PHTML, PHP, PHP3. You can see use these things. You see this one. You can also use these techniques to bypass the filters. See, let's try this one. Is it working? PHP 3. PHP 4. It's all about hit and try. You have to use all the functions. Sometimes it works like PHTML. You have to try all the combinations over here. Whitelisting, you can see it can be bypassed by uploading a file with some tricks. For example, you can see image.php, nullbyte.php files. This is also used for nullbyte application. See, double file multiple extensions. There are various techniques that we can use for exporting part. And the most common thing, you can see all the things are given over here one by one. These types of validation can be bypassed. Content validation, content length of the validation, other techniques. There are many reports that you can see. PayPal in bug bounty, arbitrary file upload, cross-site scripting using image file upload, how I gain another access file upload in a remote execution bug bounty. A proper code of filter and size of the things has been given over here. The art of unrestricted file upload vulnerability. You can get all the things over here. You can get the demo if you want. You can get all the things, but you have to read about the vulnerabilities. What is file upload vulnerability functionality? Uploading in the transmission of a file from one computer system to another. Usually a larger computer system from a network user point. So they have given one by one all the things you can see. What we can achieve by uploading the restricted file upload in the server. It is not shown in the demonstration of every attacks. You have to search for it if you know what to do. You can use remote code execution, XSS, LFI, XSE, phishing attacks, parameter collections, and uploader may disclose SQL injection, DOS attacks. Types of filters, you can see blacklisting, whitelisting, content type validation, content length validations. These are the things that can be used for developer for filtering out all the things. It's all about the response code first of all. PNG, JPG, GIF file, content length, show the maximum size. It can be bypassed by the following length of the payload, like the type of payload. There are lots of things that can be used for there for bypassing all the content one by one. So medium.com is one of the world's best website, or you can look for many other things. For example, you can see explanation is already done. In tomorrow's session, you can have the videos over there. Let's try with the XSS. So we're gonna start with the cross-site scripting XSS. So let's see the security level, which is low. So let's read about cross-site scripting. So over here, I'm gonna take my Hacker 101 website. Cross-site skipping attack. So this is the most common attack vector that lots of people find this one in easy way. But the most common thing is to identify the services. For this scenario, what we can do, we can try to manipulate or look for sensitive information. For in my case, what we can do, we can try other things. So in this scenario, what we can do, we can try to look like a process scripting or XSS involves in various things. So over here, process scripting XSS involves a website including initiate Java code, which is subsequently attacked, passes on a user who can execute the code by their browser. A harmless example of the code is, you could say, alert function of the documented domain file. This will create the JavaScript alert and create a simple pop-up with the domain name with the XSS executed. You can see they have given the proper example. You can use the example of the determine if the XSS vulnerability exists by when reporting things. How the vulnerabilities include this impact, the site explain that. I don't mean to tell X company that XSS is just an example. You can see they have given the proper way. But the most important thing is to understand what are types of XSS over there. There are three types of XSS. The first one is your reflected, which is your persistent, not persistent. Persistent means it will simply store on the server side. These attacks are not persistent, meaning the access is delivered and executed by a single request and response code. Stored ones, these attackers are persistent or saved and then executed when a page is loaded by unaffected users over there. Self-accesses are basically, these type of attacks are also not persistent. They are usually used as a part of tricking a person into running the accesses themselves. So there are lots of other things that can be worked over there one by one. So the most common thing is to understand how the services work on the real scenarios. So one by one, over here is to understand how the attacks works. For the most of the people's, XSS is just like a treasure, and you can find XSS in many websites. So in this scenario, what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to read about the XSS. Sorry. Through XSS, an attacker simply gain lots of information. You can say when we are searching for vulnerabilities, you will often to find some companies are not considered with the self-XSS. They are not care about their users could be impacted through no fault. In the case of reflected and stored, that doesn't mean you should totally discredit the self. If you find a situation where XSS cells can be executed but not stored, you think to have the vulnerability exploited. There are other things that we can use over there one by one. One of the most famous example of XSS exploitation may be MySpace semi-bomb executed by Sammy Maker in 2015, which is basically stored vulnerability on the MySpace. See, they have given the links that we can learn and the filters. Where you can learn all the things. XSS filter evasion cheat sheets. Test XSS without filtering bypass, XSS locator, image XSS using JavaScript directive. See, lots of things are given. In 2015, they got $500 for that. And you can see the report. This vulnerability was desired with Spotify. And you can see the backend. They are using ASD semicolon alert function. That's it. And a single code. So what we can do, we can try lots of other techniques to bypass these things. For example, in your DVWA, you can see there's a reflected cross-site script. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply write Craw over there. So hello Craw. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to intercept this request on my burp suite. Can I do part through? Yes. So I'm going to use this one on my repeater mode. Drop the packet. I doesn't want to care the packet anymore. So over here, the repeater, I can see my request is over here. So what we're going to do, we're going to try a simple alert function as per the data. So I'm going to use a script tag and an alert function. And in alert function, I'm going to execute a command like your document dot domain and execute. And I can see the server has been executed the server side properly. But over here, we can't see the reflection. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to simply show the reflections on my right click, show response in browser, copy the URL, and I'm going to paste it over here. And I can see there's a pop-up over there. Let's try to change the cookie parameters. So we're going to see some cookie session hijacking part. Execute it. URL, paste it over here, and I can see the session cookies. This is also used in session hijacking part. Accesses is a wide variety of things that we can use it in many ways. And there are lots of other techniques we can use it. So the most important part is to understand how the application works. You can see Craw Security, I just simply write those things over there. An attacker, through the accesses, he can simply do lots of things. He can simply alert the function. Show response in browser, copy URL. A reflected vulnerability, which is mentioned over here ago, it simply will pop up a server. But if you look for the vulnerabilities over here for reflected on HackerOne, you will get some vulnerabilities over here. Reflected accesses HackerOne reports. 2020 on the Twitter flight school. You can see reflected accesses on HackerOne and resource of HackerOne.com. This guy, Eric, is one of the best ones. Good days. I hope you are doing well and can be doing free this time. I have found accesses on 2 endpoints. You can see HackerOne resources and HackerOne resources.HackerOne. And you can see the pop-up. The most important part is to understand the script. This is the script. Example.com, you find the URL manipulations and the locations. Proper POC of cookie.document.domain. Or you can see reflected accesses can give you around $1,000. You can see the proper parameter they have described over there. An impact. And like this is a tutor, so they are not going to reveal any pictures over here. Tutorflightschool.com. It's all about the parameter and the subdomains that can be used in various types. So there are various other techniques that can be used for bypassing the accesses outside. So the most important thing is to understand. See, we can see other things also. There are many reports that we can use. Alert cookie. And you can see the POCs. So I can see the parameter is over here. P is good. alert.documented. And that's good. They have given an MP3 also. You can see they have created a link over there. So there are many other ways that can be helped on the XSS project. But the most important part is to identify the DOM XSS, which stands for Document Object Management. So in this thing, you can see there is no parameter value, but if you select, please choose a language. So if you choose English, you will see the document.domain which is on the environment variables, which is your English over there. So you can simply write your payload over here. For example, it's all basically on your environment variables. Alert document.domain. Or the most of the people look for cookie parameters because that's an important part. You can search for DOM XSS. What is DOM XSS? DOM XSS, also called as zero XSS attacks, whenever the attack payload is executed as a result of modifying the DOM environment, the domain environment object in the same browser, in the victim browser used by the original client-side script. So the client-side code run in an expected manner. Why DOM is in this environment? If a script reads some data from the URL and writes the dangerous thing, then the vulnerability is entirely client-side. In a reflected DOM plus vulnerability, the server processes the data from the request and echoes the data in the response flow. So DOM environment, it basically works on the client-side environment. It's going to pop up on the development environment. So this is the most common attack. It's all about to check the parameter values. You can simply check the environments set. And if you look for the HackerOne reports, you will see lots of vulnerabilities regarding it. $500 for that. The market contained available HackerOne.com was reflected by process scripting vulnerability caused by the insecure message. You can see the description and the environment variables. So there are many other things that can be helpful over there. Development development. So it will work on the development area. And how many bounty he got? He got $500 for that. A domain environment which is using on the client side. Same just like your stored. Stored XSS will be stored on the server side, and this is more crucial. If you search for stored XSS, it is persistent, and it means that the data will be stored on the server side. For example, they is asking for a name. For example, I'm going to write it Craw Sec, and I'm going to name message. Hello, everyone. So the data has been stored on the server side. If I visit this one again, let's see, go to the store, the data is over there on the server side. So what we can do, we can try to look over here many other things one by one. For my case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to name this one hacker, and I'm going to place a script over there on some side. So the data has been stored over there in a permanent way. So if an attacker simply visit on that specific page, the first thing he will see is the script will be run. The script has been stored on the server side, so it is a major impact. Through the XSS, there are lots of kinds of vulnerabilities that can be occurred over there. It can be used for disaster things. It can be used in many other things to recover. And the most common thing is basically using various different things that can be impact on the server side. In many other ways, the techniques are basically used to prevent. The most important thing is to understand how the attack works. Stored XSS, if you got stored XSS, you will get $700 to $1,000, and this is critical vulnerability. So here we get to the report. We get to the new network report. So over here, he's gonna write a code like image source on error tag alert function document.domain and save. So this data has been stored permanently on the server side. If we visit again, we can simply execute the commands. There are many other techniques that can be used over here one by one. And this is the same thing. $650 for that. And what he used a simple payload. Remove the underscores. And I will still fire up the accesses anywhere who visit the link in the long run. So you can see it's all about the encryption standard and encoding the data. There are different kinds of techniques that can be used for. It's a March 2019. And there are various other techniques that we can use it for bypassing or escalating the card one by one. There are lots of techniques, but the DVWA is all about the practicing part. You can see my pop-up window. And the book was this. You can read when you're doing a bug bounty course or bug bounty practices. These books can help you in major ways. And you can see the interface. And the web application part. This book will tell you about the core mechanism, how the application works. Web application insecurity, core defense mechanism, web application terminologies, mapping the application, bypassing the client-side control, attacking the authentication, attacking session management. There are lots of other techniques that we can use. Or you can simply visit HackerOne website. There's HackerOne, you can go. Bugcrowd. There are lots of websites that you can use it for penetration testing of your web application skills. And there are different types of things that we can use one by one. In this most of the scenarios, the attack is complete by a proper sense, a proper way of attack. And the most important part is the tool they have mentioned. The first priority is your group should always something to use it in a proper way. So this was a proper session of your hacking web